You should do yourself a favor and watch You Season 3. What's going on, guys? I'm Chris, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm doing a spoiler review of You Season 3, the latest season of the hit Netflix show. Now, I personally am a pretty big fan of the show. I got into it around the time Season 2 came out. So my girlfriend Cam really liked Season 1, and so she was like, Season 2 comes out, you gotta watch it. So I binged through all of Season 1, then I watched Season 2, and now Season 3 is out, and me and Cam spent all Friday, October 15th, watching every single episode of You Season 3. And I'm here to say it did not disappoint. This is one of my favorite shows on TV. I don't think it's the best show on TV, but it's definitely constantly enjoyable, entertaining, and just absolutely insane. But before I give you guys my spoiler thoughts on the season, definitely hit the like button, comment your thoughts on the show down below. What's your favorite season so far? And make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any future reviews, rankings, all that good stuff. So we're basically just going to be trudging through the entire season, episode by episode, or at least major plot point by major plot point. The way that the last season left off is that Joe is now married to Love, and they have a child, and it seems like he might be falling for the next door neighbor. We don't see who they are, and then we find out in this first episode that her name is... I said Nicole when I originally recorded this. Her name's Natalie. And that she is married to a tech guy named Matthew, and she kind of is playing this weird flirtatious card with Joe as we see early on. I'm thinking, okay, we might be following the same history of the past two seasons where Joe is just stalking this one girl and he just has another new obsession. That is not the case here. They really flipped the script on its head this season, as we actually see Love kill Natalie at the end of the first episode, which is insane because usually Joe's the one to do the killing early on, but Love is the killer in this first episode, and it's the new character. They set her up the whole entire episode. They set up this new love interest Joe might be stalking, and that's not the case here. He's actually a little more self-controlled in the season, and it was absolutely crazy the way they ended that first episode because I thought she was going to be a major character in every single episode, but nope. They killed her off, and that's our inciting incident that sets off the rest of the season. And Penn, Badgley, and Victoria Pedretti just have so much fun in the role. They're so committed to being psychopaths. Love's kind of impulsive in this season, and we see that throughout, and it really does make it interesting as Joe's kind of having to cover up for Love's actions. Going into the second episode, there's a fantastic scene between Joe and Love where they're just both arguing, and they have their kid Henry there at the scene of a murder. So that just adds really kind of messed up vibe to it. It also adds this like dark comedy in a way. Joe really reminds me of characters like Patrick Bateman, the way that he has his inner thoughts working, and sometimes they can be darkly comedic in a way, and I always have been interested in characters like that. As the season progresses though, there's a lot of new characters introduced. There's the whole Madre Linda neighborhood crew, and a lot of these people are just stuck up and fake and think they're better than everyone else. The Conrads are a family that are introduced. Some wild stuff goes down with them that honestly is kind of hard to watch. So uncomfortably cringe. There's a lot of like sexual stuff in this season. I feel like they just keep upping the ante with that. They also cuss a lot more in the season, which I just noticed. They dropped F-bombs a lot more. Didn't bother me. I just noticed that it's almost like they were unhinged this season. After Natalie dies, by the way, we get introduced to the character of Theo, who turns out to be her stepson and the son of Matthew. So it was interesting the way that he was introduced. This is the same actor who plays the character of Cameron in the recent Halloween films, and his character is quite annoying there. He's also kind of a little bit of a tool in this. I mean, he ends up playing a major role in the entire Love-Joe relationship, as Love ends up actually sleeping with and having an affair with the character of Theo, who's significantly younger, by the way. So then Joe ends up falling for his librarian boss, Marianne, and that becomes a whole big plot line. So there's a lot of intertwining romances in this season, and I liked it. It spiced things up for sure, and I even liked a certain episode where we got to see Love's inner thoughts, and we were hearing her voice things over, because I know I was watching it with my girlfriend Cam, and she said, I would love to see an episode where Love is the one voicing it over, and that happened to be the case. Now, I will say this season does take its time to kind of get fully insane. I'll say episodes 8, 9, and 10 are the true standouts aside from that first one. So there's a little bit of filler, but hey, 10 episodes is a lot of TV. It's 10 hours, so they kind of take their time with certain aspects, but it does drag a little bit. There's a whole plot line where Henry, their son, gets the measles, and then there's this big thing where it feels like the drama is resolved early on, where Joe ends up framing Gil, a certain character, for killing Natalie, so they get off scot-free, it seems like. But Matthew, the tech husband of Natalie, like I said, has all these different cameras over town that he's kind of hacking into, so he's constantly surveilling the area, trying to find out what really happened. He has a feeling that what happened with Gil might not actually be the truth, and he would actually turn out to be correct. Episodes 8, 9, and 10 is where we see the most kills, where we see the most insanity. And at this point in the season, Love and Joe have basically grown to resent each other, and it's inevitable that they're going to divorce or one of them is going to die. So there's kind of like a chain of events that is set off. Joe is trying to leave Love and run away with Marianne, his librarian love interest, But she has a toxic ex-boyfriend named Ryan, who is a news anchor, and who is trying to get full custody of Ryan and Marianne's daughter, and basically run away to, like, New Jersey, and just leave behind Marianne. And he's basically taking advantage of the system to try and screw her over. And eventually Ryan wins a case to get full custody over the daughter. Marianne says, I'm gonna go to New Jersey because I can't be away from my daughter. I'll do whatever it takes. Joe says, you know what, I'm going to interfere here, I'm not going to let this happen. So he follows him to a parking deck. He pushes him off, he thinks he's dead, but he's still alive. So Joe runs down and viciously stabs him multiple times in the chest, one of the more gruesome murders in the show. So he kills the news anchor, and while this is happening, we've got Love having to deal with the Conrads, a couple who, again, are toxic throughout this show, and they try to do this whole sexual thing that goes south quick. But then Joe and Love end up locking the Conrads in a cage, so while this is happening, simultaneously Joe is dealing with the murder, and then Theo, of course, accidentally stumbles into the bakery and finds the Conrads in the cage, leaving Love with no choice but to do something. She ends up pushing him down the stairs, and we all think that Theo is dead. That's not the case. He turns out to be alive. He ends up in a hospital bed, but of course the Conrads have to deal with their thing, and it seems like they're gonna die. It really does. They even have the option to kill each other, as Love puts a gun in the cage and says, if one of you shoots the other, I will let the other person out. They don't end up doing that, but there is some antics that go on between them, and ultimately they do get out of the cage, and they end up kind of profiting off of their horrible situation and making Love look terrible in the end. The best scene in the season is probably this confrontation scene between Joe and Love at a dinner table. At this point, they fully hate each other, and Love is kind of onto Joe that he's trying to go away with Marianne because he has a new love interest, and Joe is trying to get out of there. He really is trying to break it off clean and just get the hell out of there. Well, they're having a dinner, and Joe says, I think I want to get a divorce. While this was happening, Love actually used this supplement on him that makes him go completely paralyzed. This is the same substance she used to kill her ex-husband. She admits to Joe that she actually ended up killing her ex-husband because she put so much of the substance so fast in him. So now Joe is paralyzed on the floor. Love literally picks up Joe's phone, uses his Face ID, and texts Marianne to come over ASAP, setting up Marianne to get murdered pretty much. So she walks into the house, and they're having a confrontation scene, and Love is full on crazy at this point. Credit to Victoria Pedretti for the insanity that she is showing here. She is literally holding a little split knife that you would use to, like, hold a turkey when you're cutting it, and she's about to kill Marianne when Marianne's daughter walks in and says, I have to use the bathroom. So that saves her. Marianne then gets off scot-free and heads out. She leaves, and Love tells her to just go away. They never see Joe, who is literally watching this in paralysis on the ground with a gag in his mouth. So he can't say anything, he can't move. He's just witnessing. All of this goes down, and then Love walks over to Joe as if she's about to kill him. Turns out, Joe stabs her in the leg with the same substance that he was basically poisoned by. Joe, earlier on, took a thing of adrenaline from the Conrad's briefcase with all their weird drugs in it to counteract this drug that Love used on him. He used this adrenaline to offset or be an antidote pretty much, and he ends up killing Love. This substance that Joe puts in her ends up killing her because he put such a massive quantity. So Love dies, but now Joe has a dead body on his hands, so what does he do? He does what he does best. He has this extravagant plan. He cuts off 2 of his toes, puts one of them in a pie, ends up burning the house down and making it all look like this extravagant murder. And he ends up making it look like he died. And it's honestly believable, though, because he blew up the house. It makes it look like he's dead, so no one's suspecting Joe of anything. He kind of looked innocent in a lot of this season anyway. And while it is alarming that the house blew up and is completely gone, the baby was not there, so don't worry. Joe actually takes Henry and drops him off at Dante's doorstep. Now, Dante is a character who is a blind librarian who works with Joe and Marianne at the library, or worked, I should say, because Joe no longer works there. But he leaves a note, and he leaves Henry behind. He says, it's just not the time. So Henry could grow up and come back in a later season down the road if there's a time jump, or you could never see Henry again. But I will say this, as sad as it is for Henry growing up, you know, obviously not with his real parents, one of them is dead, and the other is a complete psychopath who probably shouldn't be fathering a child right now. Now Joe goes off to Paris. He is now going to search the world for Marianne wherever she is. I'm interested to see where season 4 goes. I don't know how long they can keep the show going. They definitely had a fresher take this season. I was a big fan of it, but I wonder how many more characters they're going to keep introducing, and I think Theo will have to come back into play. We might see Ellie from season 2 come into play, and I'm sure he'll be on the tails of Marianne, and he might have to murder to end up with her. We'll see what happens, but I really enjoyed this season overall. It's thrilling, it's twisted, it's a lot of fun. I enjoyed this ride. This is one of the most easy shows to binge on TV right now, in my opinion, and the performances are just so great. The writing is so clever as there's these wild situations characters get stuck in, and you're just constantly wondering, how the hell are they going to get out of this? Who knows? It also talks about toxic relationships and just toxic people in general. You gotta love it. This show has it all. It's funny at times. It's very dark, but I enjoy the hell out of it, guys. What did you think of You Season 3? Let me know in the comments down below. Let's have a full-on spoiler discussion down there. This might not be my favorite season. I think if I had to rank them, I would go Season 2, Season 1, and Season 3, so technically it might be my least favorite. I don't know. It's hard to say. They're all really great seasons, and I'm ready for Season 4. Thank you all for watching, guys. Hit that like button, comment your thoughts down below. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future reviews, rankings, TV videos, all that good stuff. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.